There are a lot of cuts of meat that go unappreciated in Western culture, and I think tongue is definitely one of those cuts of meat. When it's properly prepared though, it is tender, it is flavorful, and it's got a tremendous amount of utility. And you know, if we're on the subject of specialty pieces, I'm on board for the heart. I'll take as much heart as I can get. I'd be stoked to have the tongue.
Yeah, we get all the tongue, the oxtail, the heart liver.
I ask for everything that
fat.
they're willing to give. Sometimes
Marrow
there's some things they're not going to
I know.
get involved with for whatever their reasoning.
Whatever.
I'm not exactly
Not
sure.
efficient or whatever.
Right. So I ask for everything.
Yeah.
And then I kind of try to keep track of who wants what. Some
Okay.
people have no interest in offal,
Yeah.
and some people want as much as they can get.
So where do you get a tongue? Well, that was me going over my cut sheet for my half beef with Michelle and Brian Stanger from Stanger Ranch. So I always ask for the tongue, and I know I'm getting half a beef, so maybe I'm not going to get it. But every year over the last 4 years, I've been lucky enough to get a tongue from the amazing free-range mountain cows here that we get from my local rancher, the Stangers. So I'm always very appreciative when I do get to have the tongue, and then the heart, liver. I love all these, let's say, specialty cuts of meat that are maybe not so popular. Tongue can be very tough and unpleasant, and I know there's just like the whole mental block for a lot of people of it's a tongue, it's got taste buds on it. But a properly prepared tongue, I think maybe it can change your mind. I think it's amazing food. Before you can get tongue into tacos or throw it in some scrambled eggs or make a sandwich or a pasta or do like a duo of tongue and some beautiful steak or something like that, we need to simmer it slowly in liquid to make it tender. This step cannot be skipped, and it's what's going to make the tongue super tender, like falling apart, melt in your mouth, amazing meat. And the texture that it's going to have when it's done being simmered is going to be really similar to like a really nicely braised short rib or like a really perfectly cooked beef brisket that's just, kind of melts in your mouth, kind of tender. What if you don't have a local rancher to call up and say, hey, I want to buy half a beef and please can I have the tongue? I remember as a kid, there would always be tongue in the supermarket, like, down at the end of the meat section, where there was like tripe and there was tongue and there was liver. I haven't seen it there in a long time. Maybe it's just become more popular, but definitely if you have a local butcher, let them know you're interested in getting a tongue. They'll probably be able to order you one. It will come frozen. Mine came frozen. I would expect it that way. It gives you the option to, put it in the freezer and get to this project when you're ready to, because it is kind of an all-day project. Okay, so you have a tongue, and we're gonna simmer it all day. It's gonna take a long time to get this tender. Think of making, chicken stock or something, or, braising short ribs. It's, kind of an all-day project. Back burner, set it and forget it type of thing. Okay, you're gonna start by giving your tongue a rinse. Take it out of its packaging, make sure it's completely defrosted, and just rinse it off. There's the back end of the tongue is gonna have some connective tissue, some blood supply, what looks like glands, weird stuff. Don't worry about it, we'll take care of it at the end. So you're gonna put the tongue in, say, like an 8-quart pot, and we're gonna cover it with 2 inches of cold water. We wanna make sure we've got a good amount of water covering the tongue because it's gonna cook for a long time, and we're trying to maintain submersion. We want it to stay under the liquid the whole time. We're gonna bring the tongue up to a boil, and we're gonna turn it down to a simmer. And simmer for about 2 hours. And I'll give you the times kind of that I'm working from based on the size of this tongue. And I will say that it's a little bit on the small side. The beef that I'm getting, these guys are free range, up in the mountains, eating all kinds of crazy stuff, whatever they find up there. A conventionally raised beef will probably be a bigger sized tongue. So I would say that this was a bit on the small side. So you may have to adjust your times based on the size of the tongue. So I'm gonna simmer it slow. It's gonna look like this kind of speed for about 2 hours. And you might get some foam that comes to the top, just like if you're making chicken stock or something. Skim off that coagulated protein scum, discard that. And I usually go like half covered or partially covered with a lid just to prevent some of the evaporation and control my temperature. I've got these crazy electric burners, so managing my temperature is sometimes tricky for me. After 2 hours, we're gonna add mirepoix. Just carrots, celery, onions, bay leaf, some, maybe 5 or 10 black peppercorns. Recipe is linked in the description with a printable PDF if you wanna, have the analog version to follow along and check off the box of what the next step is. So go ahead and put the mirepoix in and then, bring it back up to a boil. The mirepoix is gonna kill your temperature and get it back to a nice, smooth, steady simmer. You can partially cover it to, prevent some of the evaporation. And here's like our split in the road for salt. And there's 2 options here, and I can make a case for either one, so you can make your own culinary decision of how you want to proceed. I'm going to choose to salt the liquid. And I know that because of the skin on the tongue, I'm not going to get any salt penetration into the meat. So what's the point of salting? So I think the broth that comes out at the end, like what's resulting, this stock or broth or whatever, is delicious. And I almost feel like it's a shame to save it and put it into like braised short ribs or ossobuco or like a beef stew, because then you lose all that tongue flavor. It's got great gelatinous qualities, so it would make a really nice sauce. But I prefer to reserve it and just enjoy the broth broth on its own. That's me. That's my choice. You could omit the salt, and because you're really not going to get any salt penetration into the meat, so don't salt it and then save it as tongue stock, and then you can use it in some other project. So your call. I'm choosing to season it just so I have great flavor development, and then I'm going to set it aside. I'm just going to drink it on its own. That's it. You could use it to make a soup or something like that, but your choice. You can season it or not. It's not going to affect the meat. It's just going to affect your broth. How long does it cook now? So we've got our mirepoix in. I've added some salt to mine. We're going to simmer slow for another 2 to 4 hours. My tongue, this one, ended up going 4 more hours, so a total cooking time of 6 hours. Now, how do you know when it's done? I like to use a paring knife test, and this works also for ribs, smoked pork shoulder, braised short ribs, anything that you've cooked long and slow and you want to know if it's tender. I'm going to take a serrated paring knife and I'm going to stab through the meaty part of the tongue, and if I can pull my paring knife out without really picking up the tongue, I'm in good shape. It's good. We can kill the fire. We don't need to worry about testing the skinnier part, like the tip end of the tongue. It is encased in like a pretty thick skin. So even though they are very different thicknesses and you would think like it's going to overcook on this side and be undercooked on that side, it's not the case. The whole thing ends up being pretty much cooked exactly the same, doneness. Even though like kind of the muscle texture, the muscle like fibers sort of change as you get to the broader back part of the tongue. No need to stab the skinny part. Just test the bigger, thicker side. So when you can stab a paring knife in and pull it out nice and smooth without really picking up the tongue, we're good. We're going to turn the fire off and we're going to let the tongue cool in the broth for a good 2 to 3 hours. Obviously, it's not going to be cold after that point, but it's going to be generally cool enough to be able to remove the tongue and then get it cold in the fridge. We'll deal with the rest of it the next day, taking the skin off the next day. I want to get it cold. To do this same day, I suppose you could. I feel like it's a little bit easier to handle the tongue, get the skin off when the meat's nice and cold, versus trying to peel the skin off and then maybe risking damaging some of the meat. So tongue, cold, tomorrow. We'll deal with that. The broth, ice it down the rest of the way, get it ice cold, and then of course cryovac it, flat pack it, put it in the freezer, save it for another time. I'm just gonna put mine in mason jars because I'm just gonna use it up this week. Okay, next day, here's the tongue. It's cold, and we're gonna take the skin off and we're gonna portion it down. The skin, just use a paring knife and you can kind of score through it. You don't want to cut into the tongue. We just want to, open the skin so we can start peeling it away. Paring knife is a good tool to give yourself a little bit of grip. The skin on we'll call it like the top of the tongue, is pretty thick and easy to peel off, and you should be able to, take it off in strips. Get your paring knife in there, get like a little flap, and then, just peel it off. The skin that's on the bottom of the tongue and around the sides is much thinner, and you might have to, just kind of fight with it a little bit. We're not trying to, I always prefer not to cut the meat to remove the skin. I want to leave the skin. I want to leave the meat intact and remove the skin. But if you have to make some little cuts just to trim it off, you can kind of see how it's going for me here. There's the front part, the tip, and you notice, like, if you notice, there's like some stab marks in the front portion of the tongue. That's not from me. I didn't do that. I don't know what the inspection process is for a tongue when it goes through like USDA inspection, or how they process the animal, but I feel like there's always some like puncture marks, like looks like from a small knife, in the tip of pretty much every beef tongue. So that's not me, and if you see puncture marks in the tongue that you get, pretty common in my experience. Even when we were, the conventional ones that I would get working in the restaurant, same kind of thing. Anyway, so I've removed the skin from the tongue. Look at this beautiful big piece of just perfectly cooked meat. Now I'm going to slice it, I'm going to portion it, but we've got to deal with the back of the tongue because we left all of the, there's like some connective tissue, there's some blood supply, and there's some glandular looking things all back here. So after I portion out the tip into about inch thick slices, and this is what works for me. If you're planning to like make tacos for a bunch of people with the whole tongue, you could just end up dicing it into whatever size dice that you want to fit into tortillas or whatever. That's an option. I am the only one in my house that appreciates tongue, so this is when I cook a tongue. I just generally use it for lunches for like a week. I'll get maybe 3 or 4, maybe 5. Usually 4 lunches out of a tongue about this size. So here is the thicker side. I've sliced it, and then after slicing it, you can really see what you're getting into here. And I'm just kind of, trimming away some of the stuff that I don't want to eat. I'm going to save as much of the little bits of meat and some of the fat because that's good stuff. And I ended up using it to make scrambled eggs, and I'll show you in a minute. Not scrambled eggs. No, I fried them. I made eggs. I made tongue and eggs. It was great. But, discard what feels like is not food to you. And the skin from the tongue, of course, this is not edible. You can discard that for sure. But here we are. We have the whole tongue, cleaned up the back section. Everything's cut in like inch thick slices. I'm going to cryovac some of it to keep it fresh. I suppose I could freeze it. I generally just eat it. I just make it a week's worth of meals for me. And, it stays nice and fresh in cryovac. I left a couple pieces out for, making some tacos that day, just because here it is, it's ready to go. Let's have some tongue. And then whatever little scrappy bits I had from like kind of cleaning things up, put those in a little container, and I'll end up using those to make some eggs. So there's a lot of utility here for tongue. We can do tacos where we dice it up and we go hot pan, whatever your cooking fat is that you like. Get some duck fat or beef fat or olive oil if you need to, and get some good brown color on it. The magic of having tongue is when it's most enjoyable when you've got like nice, beautiful browning, and then behind it or inside of it, it's just like melting, like super tender. A properly cooked tongue should never be chewy and tough. Like it's just somebody missed the mark if that's the case. So if you're doing diced, I would use that kind of method where we're using a hot saute pan and we're just really looking for beautiful color, garlic or whatever aromatics you want to add to it. If you're doing tacos, go for it. Salt, you got to season it because remember, there's no salt penetration during the cooking process because of the thick skin on the tongue. Now, I would use a similar method if I were going to just cook like a medallion, or could we call it a tongue steak for, if we were doing something a little bit more of like a duo of tongue and something on the plate, or just like a little of a multi-course meal, maybe just tongue as a course on its own. But, get a pan hot, whatever your cooking fat is, something that's high heat appropriate, and we get some good color on there. And then I like to go a little knob of butter, smashed clove of garlic, maybe a sprig of rosemary or something, flip it over, baste. Because remember, it's really all about getting this beautiful, doré, golden brown color on the tongue, and a little bit of that crisp texture that comes with it too. So we got that combination of crisp browned texture and then just that melting, falling apart tongue meat, inside. So a lot of possibilities here. It's like having leftover pork shoulder in the fridge. Like if you smoked a pork shoulder or roasted a pork shoulder and there's leftovers, it's like, what am I gonna do with this? Anything you want is generally the answer for that, and tongue is the same situation. You can make a sandwich, you can do some eggs, you can make a pasta. I mean, all the things I said earlier, you can be really creative here. You have this beautifully cooked piece of meat that can be used in so many different applications. Let me know, what do you do with your tongue? How did you enjoy it? Did anybody else in your house want to eat it too?